Good day to everyone. I'm Vala, and today we're going to have a look at penny arcade machines that used automata, the ancestors of robots. They provided entertainment for generations of people of all ages, and there are still arcades and museums where you can play these games. Automata are similar to clockworks, with cogs and wheels and rods and belts, and they've been around since ancient Greece. An automaton carries out predetermined actions based on specific instructions, and the instructions are built into the design. For penny arcade machines, the action starts with the drop of a coin through a slot. If you use the search term penny arcade, the first results are pages and pages of modern video games. This story is about the original penny arcades from about 1890 to the mid-1940s. Penny arcades were a cheap and exciting form of entertainment. For a penny, or later nickels, dimes, and quarters, you could learn your future from a fortune teller, test your lungs, test your strength, test your muscles with an arm wrestling game, have a robotic doctor give you a massage, play games, listen to music, and even test your sex appeal. Or give yourself a good old electric shock. That arcade game was called The Electric Physician. Electricity ticked a lot of boxes. Party games, medical devices like men's and women's underwear with batteries to deliver a gentle electrical current to keep you healthy. Galvanized, meaning electrified baths, and electric lights and other gadgets for the home, and beauty accessories, and teething necklaces for babies. I've made a few videos on weird uses of electricity, and I'm making a separate video on the history of automata and robots and their makers. So if you haven't already, I hope you'll subscribe for notifications. Right now, we're interested in penny arcades, amusement halls. There's a great example of automata that has stood the test of time: the claw. The claw is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Kids love it. Parents, not so much. I think it's possibly one of the biggest money-making amusement games of all time after pinball machines. The claw is designed specifically to make money. Here's how to outsmart the claw, according to a man who perfected the technique. He says, you need to center the claw over the prize you're after, then hit the button to lower the claw. Now, he says, is the important part. Just as the claw attempts to grab your prize, you need to press that same claw button again to securely grab the toy. If you don't press it again, you won't win. Fortune tellers are always popular, and there was one for every personality. I'm going to get ahead of myself as far as vintage, because this next one is from much later, 1960. But it was based on all the fortune-telling machines that came before it. The Mystic Seer was custom made for a 1960 episode of Twilight Zone called Nick of Time. Put your penny in the slot, ask your question, and the machine spits out an answer on a little ticket. The questions were supposed to be ones that only required a yes or no answer, but instead the answers were constructed to confuse. They were generic, ambiguous, and could be interpreted in multiple ways. Let's ask a question like, will I win the lottery? Put the coin in, and here are some of the answers you would get from this machine. Will I win the lottery? It is quite possible. Will I win the lottery? It has been decided in your favor. Will I win the lottery? There's no question about it. Will I win the lottery? What do you think? Will I win the lottery? Your chances are good. Will I win the lottery? If that's what you really want. Will I win the lottery? The answer to that is obvious. Will I win the lottery? It all depends on your point of view. Will I win the lottery? Try again. Back to the early 1900s. One of the most popular fortune tellers is Zoltar. You can even buy yourself a Zoltar machine today. The top of the line goes for just over $10,000. He comes with 2,000 cards. But the price Zoltar demands these days for telling you your future is $1. That's a problem for Canadians. We don't have dollar bills anymore, so he'll have to stay in the States. If Zoltar looks a little too scary, you could try grandmother's predictions for a more gentle approach to your future. Or maybe one of the gypsy fortune tellers. They're exotic, have a crystal ball, and like the little devil, they push out a ticket with your fortune on it. Eventually, astrological machines were made too, another type that looks like a character from a Greek tragedy, or in this case, Roman tragedy. It reads the lines on your palm when you stick your hand in its mouth. Then it spits out a written card like a ticket with your personality analyzed and possible future printed on it. The most valuable fortune-telling machine in the world today is the Gypsy. Her box is 8 feet tall and she's owned by the state of Montana. In 1998, the state of Montana paid $6.5 million to buy nearly 250 buildings and their contents in Virginia City and nearby Nevada City from the estate of a Montana collector. Among the antiques was the Gypsy. She was made sometime around 1906 by the Mills Novelty Company, and she is not for sale. There's always a wizard. If this one looked too creepy, you could go for the wizard in a box. Raja, the mystic oracle, would predict the best career choice for you. Here's a fortune teller that looks pretty innocent. Captain Archie McPhee. He's in Seattle in a store named after his owner, Archie McPhee. He sells novelties, tells fortunes, appears to have his own boat, and dresses seasonally. It looks like Seattle was a popular place for fortune tellers. Here's the Temple of Palmistry in 1909 with some of its patrons and a practitioner in front. Actually, it was an exhibit for the 1909 Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition. These temples of palmistry appeared in a number of places, usually at fairs and expositions, and of course, traveling sideshows. I was wondering how palmistry came to be associated with temples, and the only relationship I can think of is the interest in Egyptian hieroglyphs and Eastern mysticism. You could try a little arm wrestling with a machine that wins almost all the time. Test your strength and test your lungs with a spirometer. These were insanely popular and insanely unhygienic. Around the turn of the 20th century, a popular machine was the mutoscope. Inside was a flip book, a series of images attached to a rotating central disc with a hand crank to create a moving picture. This type of machine was revived in the early 1960s to show music videos. It was popular briefly until the meager supply of music videos ran out. TV shows with live performances won out over pre-recorded videos until MTV and Much Music in the 1980s. X-ray machines were popular, including the machine used in shoe stores that would x-ray your feet to make sure your new shoes fit. That one was taken off the market when the dangers of radiation from x-rays became a concern. Here's a very early pinball machine. Pinball machines got more and more complex over the years and more vulnerable to tampering. Eventually, they were associated with mob activity and were declared illegal in all major US cities from 1939 until 1976. There were some practical penny machines too, like if you'd forgotten to dab a bit of perfume on your handkerchief, there were penny machines offering different scents. Or if you preferred a little song and dance, that was available too. Or watching panoramic landscapes that moved and had little characters that popped up every once in a while. The photo booth operates on the same principle. It's always a moneymaker. Here's the precursor to those comfy chairs that massage your body and help you relax. They're usually found in dentists' waiting rooms. This was the doctor, 8 feet high in his cabinet, out of which comes an arm and hand that look like they belong to Mickey Mouse. You place the hand on the body part that needs massaging and drop a coin in the slot. The doctor does the rest. He was wildly popular with all ages, and now he's a chair. Next time you sit in a massage chair, I'm sure you'll think of the doctor. I've got videos on robots and automata coming up, so I hope you'll subscribe to be notified if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.